What is the significance of this $1.4 billion investment that you're making here in Maine?
Well, I think the first thing is that has been done for improving the service in the state, for improving the capacity of this state to be interconnected with the neighbor state, and for facilitating more reliability of the electrical system in the state. But as a consequence of that, the result is not only long-term for the benefit of the Maine citizens, but as well in the short term for those people which are already benefiting in terms of job creation. Sara mentioned 2,700 people direct involved, plus another 900 indirect, plus the number of local contractors and vendors of the state. We was already a picture of in the presentation with 300 or almost 300 and something contractors of this area has been already involved in the construction. So that altogether has really created a wealth in the state, which represents 0.5% of the growth in the GDP. So I was saying before to the governor, if I'm able to make in my country a project which can already generate a 0.5% growth, probably I will have more than in a square. They will be already nominated not only business leader of the year, but as well as be nominated as whatever title, Duke or Count or whatever. So probably. No, and another thing which is important, apart of joking, is that such a size of project to have already to be able to deliver in time and in budget that Bob mentioned is a real success. So it's not easy. I was talking with the head of the project. It was already presented to the governor and ourselves, just the whole the result of the solicitation, how to deal with hundreds of subcontractors and with hundreds of people and making already this with climatic conditions, with the weather, with the rainfall, with the snow, with the problems of whatever of vegetation, etc., and to deal with all those things and to make in time and in budget. So, which I think that is really a real engineering and planning success.
What are the business benefits to Iberdrola as an international company? You've obviously made a major investment, and what do you see as the return on that investment for the parent company?
Well, I think that the return is that we have been approved by the FERC. So I think we have already, the advantage of this project is that we make in the front end large investment which doesn't require any public funds for it. So I think all of them are absolutely private funded. So, but the benefits in the short term are for the state and for the citizens, for the contractors, for all those people who are already employed. And our return is across the next 30 years through an agreed return with the regulator and with the FERC in this particular case, which the citizens will pay in a small amount because that is going to be paid in 30 years or 40 years or whatever. But the benefit for themselves in terms of service is, and in terms of wealth created, is just at the front end.
I'm aware that Iberdrola is basically focusing on what you consider to be your strategic areas. So you've been selling some assets worldwide?
Well, I think Iberdrola 10 years ago was a company 95% Spanish. So I think we were almost depending, all our results depending on our Spanish business. Mm-hmm. And in the last 10 years, we have already expanded tremendously. In this moment, the company has already, we have $125 billion assets. 10 years ago, we have less than 20, or 20 or 25. So our expansion is already in very many countries, but I think it's time to concentrate the efforts in a few of them. So in those ones, what we feel we have more critical mass and more growth expectation. So I think instead to be present we are present at present still in something like 40 countries, but I think we would like to focus all our effort in mainly in 5, which is Britain, which is United States, which is Mexico, Brazil, a part of Spain. That doesn't mean that we will not have present another one, but I think mostly our effort will be concentrated in these 5 because it's those ones we have already much bigger critical mass for business and what we have more expectation of growth, which is the case here in that state, what we have already present in 21 states, in wind, in gas, and in transmission and distribution, which is the case of Maine or the case of New York. But I think at the end is to put focus in all our expansion. So we cannot be the biggest everywhere. So I think we are the biggest in Maine, we are the biggest in Brazil, we are the biggest in Mexico, we are the biggest in Spain, so we are the second biggest in New York, we are the third biggest in Britain. So and that's why we would like to concentrate our effort. We don't like to be a small player in very many countries. We prefer to be a big player in a few countries, even if we are already still we are a small player in certain countries.
Could you comment on the initiatives that CMP and Iberdrola might be making to help what the governor stated is a real problem here in Maine of trying to reduce our energy costs? And I am aware you're in the transmission business, but what are your thoughts on how?
Well, I think this particular point, precisely you, Sara, I can already talk more in detail. But I think what I can tell you, the company goals is to serve to our citizens. So I think our customers, we are 150 years old company that we survive just because always we try to provide the best service to the customer. The best service include the best price for value. So to give the best things with the minimum cost for the consumers. And I think we are thinking all the time in this respect. For instance, in our expansion in renewable power generation, we made the choice to move into the wind. And why wind and not solar? It's because wind is much more efficient in terms of cost than the solar it was. So, and I think that is our aim all the time, how to make things which will be sustainable in terms of production and in terms of supply. Because if it's not sustainable, it can be good for business in the short term, but it's not good business forever. And we would like to make business now and forever. And for that, we have to have our customers satisfied. And that is what is precisely with Sara, you can already explain, is trying to make in this country, to keep our customers as happy as possible, because we are already thinking and looking for them and for their own interest in no sense. And you can already explain what you're doing, Sara, on this respect.
So I would say that the 2 strategies that we're implementing, you know about the pilot. And the pilot, we actually are now looking to add heat pumps to the pilot, so that to encourage customers to try any type of, or different types of conversions. And the second is our investment in gas distribution.
Yep.
So Maine Natural Gas is our affiliate, part of the Iberdrola companies. And I'd say in the last 2 years, we have made enormous investments in Maine Natural Gas. Right now we're building out Augusta. I think the more investment we make in the populated areas of our service territory, the more we'll help solve the problem. And we've gotten great support from Iberdrola to make those investments.
Mr. Galan, you mentioned wind power, and certainly in Europe you've been a leader in helping to develop that renewable, clean form of energy. Here in Maine, we're still working our way through that, both onshore and offshore. What are your thoughts about how Maine is proceeding with the development of wind power, and do you feel that that is at least part of the energy mix that will help in the long term create a reliable, stable pricing structure?
Well, we are so convinced that we are the second largest in the United States. We own the 12% of the total installed wind power in the United States is our own. We are present in 21 states. So I think we have already wind farms from Oregon to Texas, and from Minnesota to Nevada, and from New York to Ohio. So I think we are everywhere in this respect. So we are convinced that the wind is an energy solution. So I think the investment in power generation is very, very long-term return. So I think what our grandparents decided to build dams in the beginning of the 20th century, so probably the analysis of return were not very exciting. So 100 years after, we see that that was a real right decision. And we know that even in the short term, perhaps now the prices of energy in certain states are very low. We cannot compete with another alternatives, but the long term, certain. Any project which is not dependent on that has not variable cost have to win. So in the wind onshore production is going to be competitive, certain in the middle and long term, even in the case of because they are not dependent on these fossil fuels for production.
So if I understand your point, a long-term understanding of return on investment is a core value for Iberdrola.
Certain. We never invest thinking in the short term. I said to in this country when we met the first time to the regulator, I think Bob was with me already, I was saying that we are not really financial investor. So we are a company what we've been living for the last 120, 30 or 50 years, just doing always the same thing. And whatever we go is for staying and for serving our customers with the best we can, with the best conditions we can. But we are not really a financial investor. We are moving one day here, another day there, just because of the short-term return. That is not our way of doing business.
But your business plan seems to be immensely successful.
I don't know, I think so. So I think we multiply by 5 the size of the company. We multiply the profit by almost 4 times. We reduce our leverage, and we expand it internationally. We are the cleanest of all European colleagues. Our emission is 30% lower than the average of the European ones. We have already a very important footprint in countries, emerging countries like Mexico, Brazil, but we are the largest, in the case of Mexico, private power generation. In the case of Brazil, the largest distribution company. In this country, we are very proud. Such a presence, which to be present in 21 states, I don't know if there are any other utility that has such a footprint in this country. I don't think so.
Are you feeling that the investment made in the purchase of CMP is delivering and will deliver the goals that Iberdrola has?
Well, I think if we will feel that this company is not doing well, our level of investment in this country not only will increase as it's increasing, but will be diminishing. If we continue increasing and expanding, it's because we are really satisfied how the things are going on. Okay. I think this company has been tremendously transformed in the last 5 years since we merged, tremendously, in all terms. Mm-hmm. I think financially, operationally, in the side of human resources, on the approach to the customers, on the integration with the best practice inside the group, with the learning from both sides, what we can really transmit one to another one, in all terms. So we are tripling the investment in New England since we merged with this company 3 times. So the investment making here in Maine in the last few years is $1.5 billion. So if we divide by the number of customers, the size is huge. So it's 600,000 customers. So 1.5 billion for 600,000 customers. It's a huge investment per capita, huge.
Are there continued investments going into the future that will need to be made to preserve the investment you've already made and to ensure that CMP continues to be ahead of the curve rather than behind?
Well, I think now Sara and Bob are presenting the new rate case for the next few years. As far as I know, together with the plans we did for New York, correct to me, Bob, but I think we are on the size of, from now to 2020, on the size of $9 billion more to invest in. So, which I think $9 billion.
And that's for
the whole business in New England. So I think, I don't know in Maine, but probably Maine should be 1/3 of these numbers.
Right, and I think specifically in Maine, if you think about the future needs in Maine, and in fact, today when we were with the governor, we were talking to him about, we still have that 26-mile gap between Aroostook County and the rest of Maine.
Okay.
And the governor's interested in solving that problem. And then Western Maine, most of Western Maine transmission system was built to serve the hydros. And the hydros were built back in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And there's no other load out in Western Maine, but we're going to eventually have to invest in Western Maine to continue to enable the hydros
And that's another way of saying that capacity, that value of capacity is perhaps the next arena.
correct.
Okay. One last question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Are there, you know, everybody has worries. Are there worries that keep you awake as you manage a worldwide company, whether they're related to Maine or the United States? What are the particular challenges that might face your business that you'd like to take this opportunity to say, if you could wave your wand and say this is the way it should be, what do?
It's difficult. So I think in our business, what our shareholders are expecting is stability, predictability, and a reasonable return. So what we are expecting, no surprises. No surprises in terms of the predictable returns, in terms of predictable projects, in terms of predictable frameworks, and not changing the rules in the middle of the game. So I think that is what our shareholders are expecting for our type of business. We are a regulated business. Regulated business, we know that the returns are not extremely exciting, but is secure. So I think anything which makes an uncertainty in our business, I think our shareholders, which I insist 30% are American. So I think my money I have to ask for it in Boston.
Yep.
So my main shareholders are in Boston, New York, or in Tampa, or in Florida, or in California. So I think it's when Milwaukee or in Chicago. So I think those ones which are expecting no surprises. And no surprises is from regulatory side, not to change the rules, not to change those things agreed, and on the side of the managing, to make the things properly in such a way that our customers will satisfy, in the terms that we can already manage properly the networks, to provide a proper service, to have not a accident, etc., etc. So our sector is a sector which is as certainty, no surprises, and no changing the rules at the middle of the game.